Sometimes the problem lies with us. We can't get out of our own way. Well, on today's episode, we've got somebody that can help. She is an internationally certified leadership coach and trainer. She owns 3 Novus Glass locations and 6 Fix Autos. Yeah, she's pretty kick-ass. She not only put these things into place in her shops with her teams, but now helps shops everywhere, and you could be one of them. So stay tuned for more and learn how you can get out of your own way.
Welcome to Body Bangin, your podcast for all things body. Auto body, that is. And now, introducing Body Bangin's host, Mickey Woods of Mickey Woods Marketing. Mickey is a former auto collision center owner and is now a marketing and business development expert to shops across the globe.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Body Bangin. I have on with me today the beautiful Claudia Morgillo. Did I pronounce that right? Morgillo.
Morgillo, it's all good.
Dang it. I even wrote it down. So Claudia owns 6 Fix Autos. She owns 3 Novus Glass, all in Ontario, the Southern Ontario area.
Yes. Yeah.
So amazing. She's also internationally certified leadership coach and trainer, which is amazing. So not only does she own these businesses, but she's able to really practice what she preaches, right?
Yes, absolutely. And the first people to benefit are my team. So
That's right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's so cool. So today we're going to talk a little bit about how we as shop owners and managers can get out of our own way, because oftentimes we are the biggest stumbling blocks for ourselves and our teams. And Claudia is going to talk with us a little bit about some of the things that she's put into practice, some of the things that she trains and that she's seen that are really successful for her own shops and others.
Absolutely. Yeah. So thank you so much for having me here. I absolutely humbled, and it was awesome to get the invite. It's wonderful to see other empowered women in this industry. Absolutely. So women supporting women for sure.
Yeah.
And yes, having auto body repair facilities to the scale that I have up to this point has given me a perspective that maybe some with maybe 1 or 2 might not have had. And that is that I just see things happen maybe more frequently, especially with leadership and employees and teams. And what I identified of many years ago, before I started this journey into leadership training and coaching, is that the thing that got in the way of a lot of my leadership the most was communication. And when I say communication, it's not about saying the words. It's about, are they hearing, they meaning anyone you're working to lead or yourself, are they hearing it the way that we want them to?
Yeah.
Do they understand it the way we'd ideally like them to understand it so we can be more productive? Or are we just saying it the way we understand it?
So true.
And or are we not saying it at all in fear of judgment?
Yeah.
That happens too. Oh God, but if I say it, then what are they going to do? And so maybe I just won't. And then again, production starts to decline because we haven't actually addressed, the metaphorical elephant in the room, which is, when we find our way to be compassionate, but still address the really important issues. I think that that's when leadership really starts to be what it's meant to be, which is that kind and compassionate leader.
Yeah.
And people will follow that person because
Yeah.
they're not backing off from the tough issues and the tough topics to create a better system, better process, better team. They're addressing it right away, but in the most homogeneous, kind and compassionate way.
Right.
It's not about being, weak or soft or not saying it. It's really just about being straight but also not being mean. Let's face it, nobody's trained in these specific things. There's no courses out there in automotive, especially because we're speaking about this industry specifically, that train someone in this way. I mean, these are skills that we learn on the job stereotypically. And I feel like it's really unfair personally. And that's why I do what I do, because for us to be in an industry that is so focused on productivity and perfection, I use
Mm-hmm.
loosely, and
Mm-hmm.
to keep pushing forward and being better, but yet we don't pause to help those people be that and support that. It's setting them up not to be successful, really, in my opinion.
Yes. Yeah, very good point.
So slowing down a bit to train those types of skills so that we can then have those expectations and speed up again, I felt was the right answer in my organization.
Mm. Yeah, slow down to speed up. Hmm. I love that. Well, do you have some specific tools or tips that you typically use with your team or that you train some of your own people to use within their organizations?
So absolutely, and thank you for asking that. So one of the most popular segments or training that I do with all of the different departments throughout my organizations, the paint departments, the body tech department, the CSRs, the service advisor, estimators, everyone has been trained in one specific segment in particular because I felt it's a great place to start to help with that getting out of our own head to
Mm-hmm.
understand our team and ourselves better. And this one is really, it's called removing barriers to succeed. And
Mm-hmm.
so when we're removing those barriers, and what I'm referring to when I'm talking about barriers is those things that have been embedded in us since we were kids.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of stuff that we don't even know it's there because it's just our truth. and
Yeah.
and so when I say truth, I mean as in there's the big T truth, big capital T, which is the world's truth, which most people believe, and then there's the little T truth, which is just ours, just me.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
believe that to be true, but until somebody tells us that's actually not true for everyone, we're like, oh really, you don't believe that too?
Yeah.
What do you mean you don't believe that too?
Right.
So, and we just don't know, we don't know. And
Yeah.
so when we're aware that we may be doing that, we just put it on our radar, all of a sudden we have that ability to say, so is that really what's going on? Or is that just me making a interpretation? Is that a
Mm-hmm.
belief I just have from the past? Is that an assumption I'm making? Or is
Mm-hmm.
that one of the most popular? Is that just my gremlin talking? And I call it your gremlin, which is that little voice in the back of everyone's head that says, I'm not good enough.
Mm.
And it's just, it might not be that specific message, but it's usually attached to an I'm not good enough message.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's that one that kind of convinces us just not to, or maybe
Mm-hmm.
hang back, or maybe bench yourself, or I just not going to because I'm probably gonna dot dot dot. So
Mm-hmm.
usually we can track back some of the hesitations and some of the challenges we have as leaders and teammates to one of those things often,
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
conflict, which I don't often like to use the word conflict, but often that's usually where the source is because
Yeah.
someone or both of us have made one of those choices.
Right, right. So through that program that you're talking about, do you enable people to identify those things in themselves or at least try to find some awareness of those?
Absolutely. So what we do is first and foremost is we explain what it is. Because
Mhm.
often we're like, oh, is that what that is that I have? That thought that I had and those emotions that I had? What was that? I don't even know. That was just, how I thought.
Yeah.
And when we just create like, so is this what's going on? A limiting belief, which is because it's happened before, it's gonna happen again.
Yes,
So
yes.
is it really though? How
Mhm.
true is that really?
Yeah.
That was that team, that job, that experience, that version of you. How
Mhm.
true is it that today that's going to happen again?
Yeah.
It really, and it's about walking those steps in training. And again, each person will understand it and walk through those steps differently. But we
Yes,
do it in
yes.
a generalization
Right.
and the assumptions. We all know kind of what assumptions are, but do we know when we're doing it?
Mm.
How do they show up for me? When do I
Yeah.
do them the most? Where do I
Yeah.
like to make all my assumptions? Interpretations are another one.
Mm.
What am I always interpreting in a specific way that probably or maybe is not happening actually that way? It's just because of past experiences I've had.
Yeah, you're so right. You're so right.
And
Yeah,
what's
and
my gremlin? That's just me.
that's right. And even just in regular, relationships, like when you find yourself like triggered, triggered is a real hot word right now. Triggered, oftentimes, what is that inside of me that's causing that? Because that's just a situation, but what's causing this flare of emotion inside? taking the time to go in and dive down, that's some pretty intense stuff.
It can be. You're absolutely right. Yeah, this isn't for everyone necessarily, and it depends on where they are.
Yeah,
So there might be the right opportunity, but I find that just creating awarenesses around it, and just like hey,
totally.
what about, and just I like to do that. So hey, what about this? And
Mm,
then leave it with people, because sometimes we don't have to necessarily do anything with it.
yes.
Just knowing about it is really effective, especially in what we do, which is lead people. It's just the what
Yeah.
about. So hey, this might be happening for you?
Mm,
What about? It's not about judging, it's just
yeah.
what about.
Yeah.
And then they find it for themselves and feel
Totally.
supported. And creating those awarenesses for people so that they can say at some point when it might come up for them, oh, you know what about that? Maybe is that happening right now for me?
Mm,
Oh, maybe I
mhm,
am doing that when
mhm.
they're ready.
Yes. Yeah. That's beautiful. And I love the lightness of that. And it's so funny how our subconscious works, because just you asking a simple question, even though we're not consciously ruminating on this, you walk away. That's why a lot of times people have I know my best thinking times in the shower, because I'm not even actively thinking, but my subconscious will bubble things up. And it's like, oh, when Claudia was saying that, all of a sudden, you have this epiphany. So it's funny how the mind will do the work for you.
And that's the ideal scenario. You're absolutely right. Yeah, that's the ideal scenario. It's not about saying, hey, apply it right this second. It's really about just creating that opportunity
Mm,
for it to be there in case you want to access it. I like to
yeah.
call it like it's just another tool in your tool belt. When you
Hmm.
find an opportunity to pull that tool out and say, hey, is this useful right now? Now
Yeah.
I have it. I
Yeah.
didn't have it before.
Right. Right. Well, and like you said, I think all problem solving starts with identifying issues, being aware of not even necessarily like issues, but just being aware of kind of what's going on. So I love that you're recommending just let's start by bringing some awareness to the thought process behind
Absolutely.
everything,
And that's what
really.
it is. It's
Mhm.
really just becoming aware. And I actually, just something came to mind. Is it okay if I share it with you on
Yeah,
this one
please.
topic?
Yeah.
So when we talk about um, creating awareness and allowing people to make those decisions for themselves, another thing that I like to encourage people to practice remembering at times is I call it the three options in any situation. And I can share them with you now, and
Yes.
I feel like it may be beneficial for some, which is
Yes.
what I quote around is that we have three options in any situation ever.
Mhm.
And those three things are how you want to be in that situation,
Mhm.
how you want to see the
Mm.
situation,
Mhm.
and what you want to do in the situation.
Mm. Yeah, that's great.
And we focus on those three things, it simplifies things for us, and it creates the opportunity for us to really choose how
Mhm.
we want to proceed in the best way for us and avoid all those other things that we just talked about.
Yeah. Can you repeat those again just for people that
Yes,
are kind of driving and doing other
of
things?
course.
I feel like they're so good.
So how you want to be in a
Yes.
situation,
Mhm.
how you want to see the
Mm.
situation, and how you and sorry, and what you want to do in that situation.
Mm. That's
Those are
awesome.
completely within your control.
Mm.
We cannot control what the other people want to be, what the other
Mhm.
people want to see, and what
Mhm.
the other people want to do, but we can control what we do.
Yeah.
And that creates a sense of empowerment.
Totally.
And that is what I find to be the best self leadership you can have.
Mm. Oh, I just got the chills. I love that. That's amazing. Yeah, total
I
empowerment.
hope that that's valuable for some people. Really, at the end of the day, it's all starts here.
Yeah, you're right. Well, sometimes I feel like, especially with, the world is busy and there's a lot of chaos going on. And to know, and just those simple three things that you just said really just dials it all in, just shrinks it all up. Like, okay, in this moment, How do I choose to be? How do I choose to see the situation? What do I want to do with the situation? I mean, we can really apply that in all things, but in leadership, I mean, we can apply it to employee issues, customer issues,
Everything.
financial. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and you're absolutely right. These skills that we train, and that's why I like to call them. And that's the reason I actually coined, and my I guess my niche is leadership, is because it's about self leadership. It's not
Yes.
necessarily
Yes.
about leading others. Yes, of course. Even if we're not leaders, a lot of times we are leaders, children or
Yes. Right.
friends or whatever. We might
Mhm.
fall into a leadership role at times, but it's about leading ourselves in the way that we feel will lead us in the life that we want to have.
Yeah.
One of our mentors, we were sharing that we have
Mhm.
a similar mentor. He said it best, which is, who you be, they will become. And
Mhm.
it's really not about telling people how they should be. Uh,
Yes.
it's just showing people how they could and can, and making that version for themselves.
Yeah. Totally. Claudia, I love this. This is so awesome, so helpful, and so applicable. Like I said, for everything. It's just awesome. So then when you're doing your trainings with people, we had the first segment that we kind of talked about right at the beginning. Do you have other things as well that seem to be that work well for your teams?
Yeah, yes, I do. I
Well,
have a
I know you
couple
have a
really.
ton.
I have a ton. That's true.
Yeah.
I could do this all day. Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is my passion for sure. And communication. The segment on communication really, really works well. It's really about identifying and intuitiveness in ourselves, how we
Mm,
can be intuitive, how we can read others.
mm,
Really tapping into those kind of emotional intelligence aspects. What could possibly be going on here, and
mhm,
picking those things up, and deciding how to proceed. And communication has a lot to do with that.
mhm,
How we ask those questions, how we communicate those things, it will change depending on where those people are emotionally and energetically. And
mhm,
communication in the segments I train start there. So unless I know how you may or may not hear it,
mm.
how do I know how to say it, or how I could, ideally say it?
Right,
If
right.
you're in a lower place, I might decide to say this in a different way. If you're in a
Mhm,
higher place, I might say this in a different way.
mhm.
How will this information be transmitted to you in the most positive way possible, so we can all get to where we'd like to be?
Yeah. Well, and I think so many people get lost in that is we're communicating based off of where we are at. And talk about, getting out of your own way. Get out of the freaking way. It's not about you. We're talking about the team. Look who you're talking to, communicating with, and then like you were saying, depending on where that person is, your communication style, the words, because communication is so much more than just the words,
Absolutely.
then that becomes all different. But we're communicating the way we want to communicate, and we're going to force it on somebody else.
Right. And that's yeah, I think that's a great a way to explain it, is it's a lot of, it's a forcing of, instead of the steps that ideally could come with, especially when one is in a leadership role or on a team role, to communicate those needs and wants, is that ideally when we communicate using, I call it the triangle type of idea, which
Mm,
is, the strongest shape. And the reason for that
mhm,
is that there's, the ideal way to communicate is the thought, the emotion, and the actions.
mm,
And when we give people all of those empowering things, it comes together easier. And people
mhm,
seem to, and most often, understand us better, because we're
yeah.
giving them the what, the
Mhm.
why, and the how,
Yes, yes.
not just the what.
Yes, yeah.
Go do it.
Yes.
Thanks. Thanks so much.
Yeah. If you're
And
like my
it seems.
mother, "Why? Because I said so." You're like, "Oh."
Right? Never tell any kid that ever. Why? Because I said so. No, doesn't often go over well. And
Yeah.
that's stereotypically in all parts of our lives, not
Yes.
only as an employer or as
Right.
a teammate. It's even as just a friend, as a spouse, as
Yeah.
a
Right.
parent. These are wonderful skills that just, they help the person overall.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's why I really gravitated to this as an employer, because it's not about just me helping that one part of this person, which is their career.
Yeah.
It's not. We're more than our career. You are, I am, we all are. I happen to be this here,
Mm-hmm.
but this comes home, and home comes here.
Yeah.
So that old stereotypical thing that the employers used to say, which is leave it at home.
Yeah.
Don't bring it to work.
Yeah.
That's not really, going to happen. So
Right.
let's just be compassionate and say, so what, now what?
Yes.
How do we get by? And these skills help us everywhere.
Mm-hmm. I love this, Claudia. And I feel like, there's so many things we could talk about and go on and on, because your breadth of knowledge is so vast, and I so appreciate all of it. And I don't want to give people too much. I feel like we've given them some really solid things to think about. This is kind of one of those podcasts that I've done where it's like, you could go back and listen to this a couple times, because something different is going to resonate with you depending on where you're at in that moment, what happened that day of, oh, I could have dealt with that, or really needed to recognize where that person was, or I responded in that way and I assumed it was this, but maybe it was like there's just so much.
Well, absolutely. And I appreciate that. And you're absolutely right. Small doses of a lot of this kind of stuff is ideal, to have that time to I like to say it, marinate in it. We just want to marinate in it. Just let's sit in it a little bit and see how we feel about it, because it can be a little overwhelming. Absolutely. Right. It's a lot. And when we take a little bite-sized pieces of something like this is ideal. Absolutely. Yeah. Taking it away, seeing if it's applicable, seeing if it resonates. How can I even apply this? That's ideal. And giving people the chance to just see if it works for them.
Yeah. So Claudia, right now with what you're doing, and I didn't even ask you this before, but are you working with shop owners and managers currently? You have the capacity to bring people on? Do they just call you or reach out? Because I feel like there's going to be people listen to this and go, I need to talk with her. Okay.
Double C Enterprises is like the parent company to all my other companies.
Okay.
And that's really where my coaching business is kind of associated, but not really.
Right.
Because I do branch out to other industries. But because my training is very automotive tailored right now, that's a great place to check out. And also, of course, just coming and checking me out on LinkedIn as well, and finding me on Facebook or LinkedIn, and they'll find those types of that information there, and to reach out to me, and I would be happy to chat with them a little bit if this could help them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll put all of your contact information, your LinkedIn profile, Facebook, I'll put all of that in the description notes for people that are interested, that want to get in touch with you, maybe have some questions or want to take things further. I would really recommend shops listening far and wide to do something like this. It really can be life-changing for your people, but also for your organization.
Absolutely. And the virtual world has become so popular now, which has been awesome for my industry specifically. It does afford us the ability to do group coaching more accessibly throughout the States and Canada. That I am able to branch out to all states and provinces in this way, and have those types of environments, and do the one-on-one if that's what people would like with their leadership, or do like do them in segments, as in get me your whole paint department. Let's chat with those individuals. Let's chat with those CSRs, and tailor those types of trainings to them and what you feel may be beneficial to help with those teams.
Yeah. Yeah. And Claudia, I'm sure would work with you to dial that in for what you're looking for and what your goals are. So thank you so much, Claudia. I had such a great time today. I hope everybody loved it, because I did.
I did as well. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to share this awesome, empowering information.
Totally.
We love it, and I hope other people found it valuable as well. It can be a game changer in people's organizations. Give it a go. See what happens. Try it on.
That's right. I agree 100%. Well, thank you everybody for listening to this episode of Body Bangin', and we will see you next time. Bye.
If you enjoyed today's show, make sure you hit the subscribe button. We have some incredible topics and guests coming your way you will not want to miss. If you are watching on YouTube and don't want to miss the latest and greatest, you'll want to hit the bell after subscribing, so you will get a pop-up each time a video podcast goes live. To our devoted fans, would you mind paying it forward and sharing this little gem with someone else you think may benefit from it? Much love from all of us here at Body Bangin, all things auto body.